What's up YouTube, Webberz05 here, coming at you today with Q&A number 48. So once again, this week's questions are brought to you by my good friend DarkPetition84 with a couple of quick comments before he gets into the questions. So I'll quickly go over the comments. So, I have some card troopers for great. Cool, I'll sort that out with you next time I see you. And additionally guys, as you can tell, I'm back into my gaming setup, so currently I'm doing this Q&A whilst playing Skyrim. I recently re-downloaded it on my Switch because I wanted something new to do. It did keep my save file, but I got rid of it because I wanted to replay through the campaign. So, just redoing that. And I currently really enjoying it so far. So, comments from DarkPetition84 first are, I have some card troopers for trade. Cool, I will try and sort that off for you. It's probably this evening if you're down. I'd be happy to remake a random deck if you do. Cool, that's also good. Regarding Fortress Dragon, I'm pretty sure Super Heavy Samurais are seeing lots of play. I wouldn't say they're seeing lots of play, but they are still seeing play. They're not completely dead with the banning of Scarecrow, but... So yeah, they are still quite viable, but they're definitely not seeing as much play without the Scarecrow. Okay, and on that note, on to the questions. So, question 1. Did you used to watch Robot Wars? That was my favourite TV show before it got cancelled. Twice! Yes, I did used to watch Robot Wars. I absolutely loved it when I was growing up. I just loved some of the classic robots like... let me think back. Razor, Pussycat, trying to think of some of the other ones. It was like Chaos, one of them. I think it was like, I definitely remember it was a flipping styled robot as well. And then some of the house, and then so naturally some of the house robots that I had, like Matilda, Sergeant Bash, Shunt. Oh, absolutely. It was an absolutely great series. I loved watching it. Oh, God, I wish they could bring that series back at some point. 2. Did you watch my top 10 hated band lists? No, I don't think I did. I definitely saw that you posted about it. I was probably... I might have watched it. I'm not entirely sure. I'd probably have to go back over and take a look, see if I did watch it or not. Yeah. Admittedly, the ban list is one of those things that's either like, sometimes it's really good, sometimes it's kind of meh. I think the most recent one they did was pretty decent. They did make a good check to the meta. Overall, I thought it was pretty good. I think probably my opinion of the worst ban list they've ever done is the one that we got over lockdown, where they did absolutely nothing to the meta and literally unlimited 3 cards. Worst ban list ever! Yeah. These next questions are actually about my most favourite spells. Ooh, sounds intriguing. Okay, so question 3. Thoughts on Secrets of Dark Magic? I very much like the artwork on Secrets of Dark Magic, and I like that Dark Magician now has its own version of a fusion card, despite the fact it doesn't technically have fusion in its name. But still, I suppose that kind of makes sense for within the archetype. I mean, for something that would be quite nice for the archetype next is, since lots of the support cards are called Dark Magic, it would be nice if they got like a search card for cards that say Dark Magic, but considering that they've got so many cards in the archetype that just say search for a spell and trap that specifically lists Dark Magician, you kind of don't really need to, but I don't know, could be interesting. Just an idea. But overall, yeah, I think it's really good. Nice, easy way to fusion summon. Ritual summoning is also a nice addition as well, which kind of makes sense considering that they did add ritual summoning into the archetype and chaos form. Again, you could play it, but if you don't necessarily feel like banishing Dark Magician, then probably Secrets of Dark Magic is a better alternative. So yeah, overall, pretty decent. 4. Thoughts on Neos Fusion? So Neo's fusion, very useful for being able to get out the fusion monsters regarding Neo substantially more easily. Definitely gave your Rainbow Neos deck a big kick. And the Graveyard effect, which gives it protection from destruction or an effect that would cause it to retreat back into the extra deck. Very useful. So yeah, pretty good in that regards. It was quite annoying that people were abusing it with Anaconda just to bust out Rainbow Neos on their opponent, which was not fun. But it did kind of make it interesting just to randomly see Rainbow Neos in the meta for a brief period. Even if not for the actual deck. 5. Thoughts on Super Poly. Super Poly is definitely just a very good card, great at disrupting the opponent by fusing off their field. Can't lie, that's always pretty fun to do. I think probably my favourite thing with Super Poly is the fact that despite the fact it states it can't be responded to, I've actually succeeded in actually being able to negate a Super Poly. For those asking why, it's quite simple really. You set up the standard Endymion board. Your opponent attempts to just Super Poly your field away as their first action, forgetting that you've got Magician's right hand on the field, which automatically negates the first effect of a spell that your opponent plays, and it doesn't activate, which means it gets around Super Poly, which is great. Oh, that was funny. My opponent did not enjoy that in the slightest, but hey, it was funny. But yeah, overall, Super Poly's been kind of just been one of those cards that's been kind of, in and out of the meta depending on fusion monsters. I mean, admittedly now we're in the position that there's lots of more fusion monsters that are so easy to be done off Super Poly, like Starving Venom and Starving Venom probably being the easiest ones since Dark's so prominent. Then you've got things like Mud Dragon, which I think is just... I forget with Mud Dragon if that's the same. Pretty sure I've got a Mud Dragon, I can check. Okay, I don't have a Mud Dragon in here, I can't check, but yeah, Mud Dragon's got one of those easy requirements. And also now we've got Garura as well, which again is a really easy thing that you can Super Poly into. Probably one of the better ones as well right now at the moment, actually, because if you just do it against... Because Garura's sick. I keep forgetting all these requirements in monsters despite the fact I have these cards. Give me 1 second, guys, I'm going to grab my Garura. Two monsters, same type and attribute, different. Okay, so yeah. Garura's Garura is currently by far probably the absolute easiest Super Poly target to use, since you can literally just use it against any monotype and attribute deck, and it's viable. Which essentially is most decks, which essentially is quite a lot of decks. And if you're doing that in the battle phase, you can just go, cool, battle phase. Super Poly away your board, summon Garura, smack direct for 3k because Garura doubles all damage your opponent takes involving it. Man, great. But overall, yeah, Super Poly's been like kind of one of those, comes in and out of the format depending on fusion, but depending on what fusion decks are around and options available to fusion summon. So overall, I think it's pretty decent. 6. Thoughts on Magical Dimension. I quite like Magical Dimension for its artwork and how it works. Getting to summon just a free spellcaster, and then you get to pop a card. Pretty decent. It's also quite interesting how in... I've forgotten the name of the set. The recent one with Dark Magician that brought us in Illusion of Chaos and Master of Chaos. How they brought in the Dimension Conjurer, which gives you a way to search it. Pretty useful. Pretty interesting. That being said, I don't really see many Dark Magician builds actually searching for Magical Dimension, but it's just a nice option to have there. So, yeah, overall it's a pretty decent card. I think I maybe tried teching around with it back in the day. I don't remember. It's been so long. But overall, pretty decent. I quite enjoyed seeing it in the anime as well. Yugi sacking off his obelisk just to summon Dark Magician so he could Ragnarok against Marek. 7. Thoughts on Soul Servant? Soul Servant has definitely been, in my opinion, probably one of the best additions to the Dark Magician deck since its release. Gives you that method that you can sack off that dead Mahad that you've top decked, that you've opened for your turn, and also just nice flexibility to being able to search whatever you want, and mid to late game can give you a lot of good hand advantage. So overall it's a pretty decent, overall very decent. I think probably the best Dark Magician support card that they've done in the past few years. Souls. Question 8. Thoughts on Pot of Greed? So I had to do a little bit of research on this card because I'm never really quite sure how it works. But overall, for what it did back in the day, I mean, it's a +1. You can't really argue with that. Unless you're playing Mystical Ref Panel. But sadly, Mystical Ref Panel did not exist during GOAT format back when it was properly legal, so that's kind of upsetting. That being said, I did consider trying to use one of my locals recently had a traditional format tournament, so I was thinking this is a great opportunity for me to play Mystical Ref Panel and actually do it against Pot of Greed. However, in the end, I didn't have time to sort out my deck, so I didn't actually get to do so, which is kind of upsetting because I still really want to do that to someone. I think the best thing I've done with Mystical Ref Panel was against Pot of Desires. Waiting for my opponent to use it, like, banish turn, I'm like, cool. My draw. Yeah. But overall, Pot of Greed is just a great way to just boost up your hand, try and get you out of a bad situation. I also like that they've brought it into Rush Duels as well. I mean, it's a legend card, so you can only have one of it in your deck, but that's fine, because you should only be able to have one access to it anyway. So overall, pretty nice. Overall, pretty decent. 9. Thoughts on Graceful Charity? I'd say probably a bit similar to Pot of Greed. Very good, very useful. Probably maybe just slightly better on reason that, well, not so much that you're drawing an extra card, because it's still at the end of the day just a +1. Still at the end of the day, it's just a +1 because you're. Wait, is that one a +1? Graceful Charity in card hand. Activate. Okay, so technically Graceful Charity is a +0, but you can potentially benefit depending on your discards. Particularly like if, say, legal in current form, because with things like dangers, if you've got like things like dangers or dark worlds which can benefit off being discarded. Actually, frankly, Graceful Charity probably is a bit more of a plus, because probably if it was legal in current format, you just use it in tandem with a deck of something that's going to be taken advantage of by sending itself to the grave. So yeah, overall it's really good in its flexibility that you can set your graveyard up and also upgrade your hand. So yeah, overall pretty useful. And question 10. Thoughts on my favourite spell, Monster Reborn? Monster Reborn. Yeah, Monster Reborn is good. Definitely. It's been kind of up and down throughout the format. It was banned naturally for a very long time until they decided to bring it back. And frankly, when they did bring it back, it's not like it made a huge it's not really like it made a huge difference, because it's just a free way of summoning a monster from the grave. Yes, there's no restrictions on what monster you can summon, but currently we just kind of seem to be in that position. It doesn't really matter anymore. You could bring, in my Endymion build, I've got Selene, which lets me freely special summon a spellcaster from my graveyard once per turn, so I don't really mind. I mean, yes, Selene has to put it in defense and to his own points too, but still. Reviving monsters doesn't seem to be as huge of a deal now, so it's really not that big deal. But overall, it's a very good card. Anime certainly abused it multiple times in multiple ways. Overall, very good card. I can understand why it's probably your favourite spell. And on that note, guys, that's all the questions I have today. So thank you very much, Darkpatrician84, for your questions. And if anyone else has any questions for me, I do these Q&As every Wednesday, UK time, morning or afternoon, depending on my schedule. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you next time.